All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming in. These fireside chats, this is my fifth one. And I really enjoy these because we're talking about some mysterious things, UFOs. We're talking about aliens, Bigfoot, missing people, and the strange situations that uh, surround them. And so I'm kind of really into that kind of stuff, and it's just fascinating to me. So I like to have these fireside chats so we can talk about that. Of course, I do my regular live streams, which are usually on Saturday nights or something like that when we do them. But appreciate you coming in. And the one, it just hit me the other day, the 28th. And as we go through this, you'll understand why it seemed very curious to me that these two men went missing in the Gifford Pinchot or Pinchot, or some people may say Pinchot. If I'm not saying that correctly, somebody from Washington let me know. But the two men went missing, and we don't know a lot. And there's some strange situations with this, and we're going to go through that right here. So there's Terry. Hey, Terry, how are you? And just recently, just a few minutes ago, Sneaky Vegas Sunrise became a YouTube member, and that only costs $1, guys, to support the channel. And it used to be $3, but I dropped it to $1 because I was kind of stuck. Well, number one, I was about ready to quit. But when I decided to come back, because I do love what I'm doing, but there was some situations going on. That's a long other story. But when I decided, hey, I'm going to come back, I want to make it $1 and try to increase the number of members that I have, because I want to reach out to more people. Some people see the $3 or whatever, and they think that's too much. So hopefully $1 is not too much, and people can join for that. And then also you got people like Terry Meyer, who's a Patreon member, and that is huge and is a big benefit, and helps this channel grow, and helps me travel, helps me buy bourbon when I go bourbon hunting. So all that's really important. But we're here now because we're talking about this situation in Washington, D.C., and there's a couple of articles I'm going to present to you. I'm sure that many of you have seen the stories of the missing people. And let's see. Let me go back to, we want to do the this one and share this. All right. So we, I'm sure by now a lot of people has heard the news that on, it came out December 29th. This article is from December 29th. And the 28th, I believe these guys were discovered. They actually had gone on a Bigfoot hunt, 59-year-old man and a 37-year-old man. And at this point, we don't know their names. And up to about an hour, I haven't checked in the last hour, there has not been any more information released, like their names, what they were wearing, what was the shape of the gentleman when they came in. And there's Lots Creek Dave. Thanks for coming in, Dave. Good to see you. And so these guys, says two men from Oregon. They were actually from Portland, and which is right across the border from where they went missing. And they decided they were going to go on a Bigfoot hunt that afternoon. I guess it was pretty cold, and the weather gets pretty treacherous pretty quick So when they were notified the next day, Christmas Day, that they hadn't shown back up, they started searching. And it says here over 60 people, and they had dogs and everything else, went looking for these two men. It said the area had faced rounds of snow and rain with temperatures in the 30s. Now, of course, the only thing they'll say is they were maybe not prepared, which if these guys were Bigfoot hunters, wouldn't you think they would be prepared? And that if they lived in Portland, which is like an hour and something away from where they went disappearing, that they would, hey, there's Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Hamilton, I'll call him. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. So please look for Bigfoot responsibly. Absolutely. And yeah, you do have to be careful. And I'm going to share with you some stories. And they say right here, more than 700 reports of Bigfoot sightings in Washington State have been submitted to the Bigfoot Field Research Organization. So that's probably the most reputable site where people submit their sightings. So thank you guys for everybody coming in. Appreciate it. And then there's another article that I want to share with you that is a little bit different from these guys going missing. Just to give you a little idea of, these two gentlemen. And, guys, right now, if you're a praying person, let's pray for their families, because just how devastating is that for a 59-year-old and a 37-year-old during Christmas season, that these guys went missing and they didn't find them for 3 days. I can't imagine what the family was going through at that time. And so keep them in your prayers, because they're definitely needed. I do find it very odd that we don't know the names of the victims yet. And once we do find that out, maybe they're going to have a press conference today or whatever. But once we do find that out, I will have another live stream to talk about this case. But let me give you a little bit more about this area, and I'm going to present another. Let's see. This one is okay. Now, this article is called "Extreme Caution Recommended When Hiking This Winter." This was from November 4th, 2004, and it said a bear hunter in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest contacted the sheriff's department after finding what he believed to be a human skull. After examination, it was proven to be of human origin, but the identity of the remains is still under investigation. And then a second and separate set of human remains was located on September 14th, also in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest, and DNA analysis is in process. It says, unlike the first set of human remains, Skamania County Sheriff's Office believed that these remains belong to missing hiker John Hopkins, who disappeared in November 2022. So both cases are still under investigation. And gosh, that's just that just shows you how dangerous this area is. Now, we don't know what the cause was, other than they said most likely from exposure to the cold weather. And, you just think that it just makes me wonder, surely this wasn't these guys' first Bigfoot hunt. Maybe it was. Maybe they decided to go out and try to find footprints in the snow. I don't know. I don't know the situation. We don't know that much about it. But I want to share with you something else that's very interesting. First, let me show you the area that we're talking about. And I got to get to, so we're going to go to this one. So here's the area of Washington that we're looking at, and it's right down here in the county of Skamania. So Skamania, Skamania. You guys from that area can tell me which one it is. And then let me show you another look at this area, because I want to talk about this a little bit more. Show you another area, and this is, let's see, right here. So the Gifford Pinchot National Park or National Forest is right here, which is pretty close to Mount Rainier, which there is, if y'all know who David Pleitis is, and he wrote this book right here, Missing 411. He talks about a large cluster of people that go missing on Mount Rainier. And he doesn't include in the book people that had climbs and fell and things like that, because that's obviously, there's a lot of mountain climbers that get injured and unfortunately die. But he just talks about people missing. Sometimes they find them, sometimes they don't, in this area. Now, it's funny. Now, if I type in the directions from Portland to that little place, Portland, Oregon, on the map, you can see it's like, let's see, we'll drive it. It's about a 3-hour drive, but this is not where the guys were. The guys were actually in an area called the Oklahoma Road, which is in Willard, Washington. Let's see if the map will bring that up. I don't know if it will or not. Yep. So if you look at this, these guys are from Portland, and they only drove an hour and 18 minutes to Willard Road in the Oklahoma Road, and they parked beside the road right here, and then they headed on into the forest. And it took these guys, they knew where their car was, and it took search and rescue 3 days to find them. And when they did, all we know is that at this time, it said they were ill prepared for the weather. That's basically all we know, and that they think they died of exposure. So I just find all that pretty curious. Yeah, he says, and Dr. Hamilton says, please look for Bigfoot responsibility. And you know what? It just crosses my mind a little bit, knowing this territory, these guys, they say, were pretty deep into the woods. So, one thing is if hypothermia sets in, you can become disoriented. But does it happen to both people at the same time? I'll tell you a story here in just a minute in the Great Smoky Mountains, which is very similar, and you'll see that it just there's just a lot to be left to the mind. So let me show you. Share my screen again, because as Dr. Hamilton was saying, or Dr. Hamilton, as I like to call him. All right, let's look at the BFRO database, okay? And it has every state where there's been Bigfoot sightings. And you can see, like, here's Florida, 344 sightings. California has 463. These are sightings where people actually took the time, typed up the report, and sent it in. Now, you guys know there's not, you could probably double these sightings, maybe triple them, because there's a lot of people just not going to do that. Just not going to do it. They don't want to be, they don't want the attention. They don't want to think about it. Now, if we look down in Washington State, 724 reported sightings. He said they were from there. Let me go back to the screen, my screen. It says they were from there. All materials were soaked from rain, I heard, and were plenty old enough to have experience. Maybe one got hurt and the other didn't go for help. Yeah. And see, that's the kind of questions that we need to know, because we don't know. And there's Jer. Hey, Jer. And Jer is from Canada, Patreon member. Appreciate you, buddy. Yeah, we don't know if one of them got hurt or they both just became delirious, or we just don't know because they haven't given us any details. But once they do, we'll do another follow-up. It's just a sad case, and I hate to speculate about what happened, but I just was going to go back to the screen real quick. And so you can see that there's been, in Washington, there's been 724 sightings. Now, if I click on Washington State, then it gives you a list of all the counties on BFRO. And let's see if I'm showing that. Okay. And if you scroll down, you'll see that in that county, Skamania, it has had 65 reported sightings, which is the most in the state. Of course, there's sightings all over the state. Some of the sightings are pretty interesting, and so you might want to check that out. Now, now I'm not saying Bigfoot did anything here. I'm just saying it sure is curious. Well, we know why these guys were out there Bigfoot hunting, because they were curious. There's been that many sightings. Yeah, there's a lot of Bigfoot sighting in Canada too. Yeah, Dr. Hamilton said, and there's Steve. Hey, Steve, how are you, buddy? He says he's thinking they may have got hurt. Yeah, we just don't know. Having nearly froze to death as a kid out tracking deer, I know too well you get a warm feeling and just want to take a nap. And that is true. And that's why some of the people that have overcome with hypothermia, they'll start taking their coats off and stuff like that because they feel they're burning up and they're actually freezing. So it's kind of that's really a kind of crazy thing. So this is a dangerous area, guys. And if you think of, the number of people that have gone missing, like David Politis, who we talked about a minute ago, was talking about how there were so many people. There's a cluster of people that's gone missing around Mount Rainier, which is, I guess it's part of or very close to this national forest where these guys went missing. Now, again, we'll know more about this case when they can give us more information about the names. Oh, and there's one more very, very curious thing. Just this morning, while I'm looking to see if there's been any updates on this case, there was a break-in at the search and rescue headquarters. They had a fenced-in area, and they had all their search and rescue equipment in like a storage building. And these guys cut the fence, slipped through the fence, and basically cleaned out all their search and rescue equipment. I mean, hey, Jeff, how you doing? I mean, Jeff's been in law enforcement. He'll tell you that's kind of crazy. And who would do that? Like, who is going to go steal equipment from the search and rescue people that operate in that national forest? It just doesn't make sense. As many people that go missing, you want to make sure the search and rescue people have everything they need. So, yeah, thanks. And you can get this shirt by going to intotheam.com/frontiersman. And you can get, I think it's just frontiersman. And you can pick this t-shirt up and it'll help me out. But anyway, I just think that that's crazy that you not only that we don't know anything about the case, then the search and rescue people get robbed of most all of their gear. So I just think that just blows my mind. Now, I want to go to a case that's in this book that I've showed you by David Politis. It's by a gentleman named Mark Hansen. And I may have talked about this before, but Mark Hansen had decided to go on a hike with two other friends. This one friend his last name is Fish. I think it's Ben. Yeah, Ben Fish. And his other friend was John Chichester. So those three set out. I mean, guys, when you're going out hiking or hunting with your friends, there's probably nothing better than that. And David Politis even talks about that. He said that's all. It's always an adventure. Like if I'll head out into the woods with my buddy Gail and we'll do a hike or whatever, that's really cool. Now, so Jared says he's going to order a medium t-shirt to show off his abs. That'll do it. That'll do it, Jared. So, but anyway, so these three guys, they head out into, and I'll show you where they're heading to. Let me share my screen real quick. They're going to the Big Creek area of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, and that area is right here. Now, the Big Creek area is, and the Great Smoky Mountains as a whole is very much like the Pacific Northwest in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, it's a lot different. I think the terrain in the Appalachian Mountains, the the hillsides can be very steep. They go down to a creek, and you'll come down to the other side. It does the same thing. It's very unforgiving. And when people go missing here, it can be pretty hard to find these people because the terrain is so rough, which is probably like Washington in a way. The mountains aren't as big, but gosh, these mountains, they're, 2,500 to 4,000 or 5,000 in some places. But now, where these guys were going, let me show you this. And we'll see if that comes up on the screen for you guys. It may not, so let me go back and show you this one. So here's a map of where these guys were hiking. So they were starting somewhere around Big Creek or maybe even further than that. And they were going to hike all the way to this Tri-Corner area. Okay. So, and this Big Creek area is on the Cosby side of Tennessee. And all this area, man, when that big forest fire that came several years ago, this area was under heavy fire. But this case happened in 1975. So the three guys headed out. And before they even got, now this little point right here is called Low Gap. So that little turn right there is called Low Gap. Before they got to Low Gap, John Chedister, he decided, man, it was snowing, icing, the wind was blowing. And actually, the day before, the winds were so bad, a hurricane touched down. And there's Sassy Sue, Lakeside Laura, first time here. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. And Sassy Sue's here. She's working, but she's intrigued. You can watch it later. It'll still be up. And I hope everybody else is in here enjoying this. But so those three guys headed out. John said it's just too miserable, and he turned around and went back. Well, the other guys kept on walking. Conditions were not good. It was snowing pretty heavily, but they were probably so tired, so exhausted, they missed a shelter that probably could have saved both of their lives. Well, the one guy still lived, but Mark Hansen ended up passing away. But they passed up this shelter. Probably would have been a good, wise situation, because as they continue to hike, Mark just hollers at Ben and says, Ben, I can't go anymore. I'm going to drop my pack. I'm going to leave my pack. And Ben goes back to him and says, man, you can't leave your pack. That's got everything you need to survive. You got your tent, your sleeping bag, everything is there for you to survive. So he convinced him to go on, but then it wasn't too much longer after that. They just, Mark said, just stop. He said, I can't go anywhere. He almost passed out, and he just laid down right on the middle of the trail. Well, Ben Fish, he was also getting worn out. But he kept on trudging, and guys, they were getting close to their final destination right here. So look how many, they'd gone 9-10 miles, close to it. They were close to the Tri-Corner Knob shelter, actually 200 yards from the shelter. And of course, they didn't know that they were that close. And so Ben, he actually stops, crawled in his sleeping bag. It was about 8:30 at night. It was dark, and he decided that was it. He wasn't going to do anymore. So he went to sleep. Now, at some point in the night, you got Mark who quit, laid down, and Mark is laying on the trail. Several hundred feet in front of him was Ben, and Ben had laid down, crawled in his sleeping bag, and he went to sleep. And he said during the night he thought he heard Mark scream, "Help!" But he wasn't sure because he thought maybe I was just dreaming. But he, sometimes you're in that deep sleep, you don't know which is which. But when he woke up, he scrambled up. He went back to check on Mark. His backpack was there, but Mark wasn't there. Mark's gone. So Ben was like, God, I don't know where he could be. So he hiked on out, contacted the authorities, and they started, hello, there's Lakeside Laura. Hello from Missouri. Thanks for coming in, Laura. And and there's G Bro. Happy New Year's from South Bend. And Sassy Sue says she's working. I think I read that. So thanks all of you all for coming in, and appreciate it a lot. So he notifies authorities, and they begin searching. Well, they first went to the backpack. It was there. Nothing was missing out of the pack. And they started this search, and they searched for 9 days. They brought dogs in. They brought everything in that they needed. But for 9 days, until 9 days, they couldn't find Mark. Now, when they were searching, this was interesting. It said on March the 12th, and of course this happened March the 7th. And on March the 12th, so this was 5 days after they went missing, there was a number of searchers involved, and the ranger, Dwight McCarter, searched Mount Chapman on the Tennessee side of the park. McCarter found a cave on the side of the mountain that appeared to have had a large mammal living in it. He found several bones on the floor of the cave, but nothing was inside of the cave. I think that's pretty curious. But they went on, and then on March the 14th, they got tons more rain that just was wiping out a lot of things. The creeks rose and everything like that. On the 17th, the 9th day of the search, they found Mark. And get this, he was 2 miles off of the Appalachian Trail, down on a creek, up against a tree. Clothes were partly torn off. His shoes were off. His gloves were off. And he's laying up against the tree. Now, you may remember, it is a David Paulides case, and that's why I was reading from his book, Missing 411. So yes, you'll remember I did a video on Jeffrey. What is Jeffrey's name? Let me look in here, because I did a video. Jeffrey Haig. If I were you, you might want to go back and watch the video I did on Jeffrey Haig. And it's very similar to this case. But anyway, here's the curious thing. Mark was so tired, he laid down, didn't want to go anymore. But then he gets up, apparently, and walked 2 miles down the mountain towards Buck Creek. I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, you just wonder. I just wonder if something picked him up and carried him off. I don't know. The same thing with Jeffrey Haig. It did something, stir him to go off the trail? Because he died. It was like maybe a mile and a half from where the rendezvous was. So anyway, all that is just completely crazy. But when I hear about the 2 hunters in Washington, I think about these cases closer to my neighborhood where, like Jeffrey Haig, who was with this scout troop, but they find him. When they found Jeffrey, he was up against the tree. His boot had one boot near him, had another one far away. His gear was left on a rock in the middle of a creek. And he was a Boy Scout, and so he's not going to go in a creek unless he's completely delirious, overcome with, hypothermia, which will mess up your mind for sure. But adrenaline can give you energy. But he was so close. But, the curious thing to me is, why was he calling for help? Why didn't he call for Ben? Because Ben didn't say he heard his name. He heard him say help. So we don't know about that. And Jeffrey Haig and this Mark Hansen case, both are very, very just crazy. So I'm seeing if there's anything else in here that I might want to share with you. And I'll probably go back to Gatlinburg, do some more research, and see what I can find to do another stream on that. There's a lot that I want to get done in 2025, so we'll try to do that. So anyway, I just want to wish everybody a happy new year on this note. Be thankful for your family because, like I mentioned earlier, the poor family of the 2 missing guys from Washington as they decided to go on a Bigfoot hunt on the 24th, and then they didn't find them for 3 days later. It's pretty sad. There's the Bloody 81. Thanks for coming in. Thanks all of you all. Cheers. And yes, these cases will get your mind thinking. I always, and I don't mean to, but one thing I admire about David Polite is he never commits to any one thing. I think he kind of will, he leaves it up to you. And I'm leaving it up to you too, but I can speculate on my own. I honestly think, like in the 2 Smoky Mountain cases, something picked them up, carried them off. I think, and something prevented them from leaving. I don't know. I just don't know. We don't have enough information on the guys from Washington. So when we do, and that's just me speculating on the Great Smoky Mountain things. I just hate to hear these stories. And I do go out in the woods a lot. I try not to go in the winter when it's cold. I usually go in the spring and summer and fall because if I'm alone, you can become exposed to hypothermia. And I've been in situations out west where I've been almost overcome with heat exhaustion a couple of times. And that was pretty scary. Sometimes alone. Once I was with my wife, that was probably the scariest. But we managed to, because we had plenty of water. The one time I was in Utah and I didn't bring enough water. I don't know what I was thinking. It was the most ill-prepared hike, and I was climbing through a slot canyon. It was called Peekaboo Slots. And then you come out of that, and then you go through Spooky Gulch. And I made it out, but I'll tell you right now, I was very, very scared that I wasn't going to make it out, that I was going to be overcome. I had no water. Couldn't find the trail. I didn't have a light except for my phone. It was a scary situation. But anyway, so you can check that video out. It's not got a lot of views, which is kind of curious about that, because to me it's one of the best videos. I enjoy. I'll watch it back every once in a while. But thanks everybody for coming in. As soon as I find more on this case, then we'll do another video. And yes, Happy New Year, everybody. Prayers for everybody. Steve says, wishing you smooth bourbon and long ashes in 2025. Long ashes. Okay. Have a blessed, happy, and healthy 2025. Cheers. Thanks, Steve. Oh, long ashes. That means on his cigar. I got you. I got you. Steve likes those cigars. All right, guys. Interesting story. Y'all take care. You can join YouTube for $1. We talked about that. Or you can join Patreon for $3. Heck, you can join them both. $3 and $1. That's $4. You can join them both. But anyway, appreciate you so much. Always keep it squatchy, and we'll see you soon. Take care.